Hey guys, it's Vandiazo, Card Vanguard deck profiles. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and sorry. This time we are covering DZ set 8 for Flame Glams. So Flame Glams got a really good support card, and I want to say it was DZ set 4 or set 5, where they had the supporting guitar unit, which basically gave them not only one more Flame Glam to have on the field to make more Geo more consistent, but it also allowed you to deck thin. And now this set, we also have the new Flame Glam along with a really great support card. So let's see what we got here, because honestly this deck is getting better and better by the moment. It's like Magnolia, you support it like once every 2 sets and it still gets really good stuff. Moving on, first we have our energy generator. It's our ride deck crest. You might have a ride deck crest in your ride deck. Auto ride deck, when you ride, put this card into your crest zone, and if you win second, you get to energy charge 3. Continuously may have to 10 energy and auto beginning of your ride phase, energy charge 3, and then act once per turn, energy buy 7, draw a card. Pretty solid, you get a free 3 energy every turn. If you win second, you get an extra 3 on top of that. And if you end up having 7 energy, you can ditch 7 of them to draw a card. You will pretty much never use that skill in this deck though, because there are 2 really important cards in this deck that do take up energy. But if you ever run into a situation where you don't have either of those 2, you can use the energy to draw a card. Moving on, we have our starter in Flame Glam Blue Crew. Great Zone boost, 5k shield, 6k base, auto road upon your second draw card. Standard starter, nothing too special to free draw if you go second. You do have to run this as your starter, as not only the entire ride line, pretty much the entire deck revolves around this card. So one of a Blue Crew in the ride deck. Moving on, we have our over trigger and Greatest Star Artanza. Great Zone boost, 50k shield, 5k power. Over trigger, over trigger in your deck, or revealed as a trigger, move that card, draw a card, choose one units, give a +1 minute for the turn. If revealed during a judge check, activate its additional effect, which you get during this fight, you the player get during your turn. All your rear guards get 10,000 power. For a deck that will consistently have a full board every single turn with 4 attacks, that means your side columns will always be getting whatever number they're normally at, +20, and your vanguard column, well, during the first attack where it's boosted, will be swinging for whatever it normally is, +10, and then the second vanguard attack will be swinging for standard numbers, but still pretty good numbers all around. Artanza is great just for all-around defensive pressure. You can run Volnut to give the deck more multi-attack, or Sporia for also more multi-attack and healing, but I prefer Artanza because beat sticks. Moving on, we have our normal triggers, 3 copies of Transparent Snowy Night Bear Toy. Great Zone boost, 5k shield, 4k base, draw a trigger, continues guard circle. If your opponent's vanguards are great 3 great at 5,000 to the shield. So you know she's a 10k shield, she's also a draw trigger, so she helps increase your hand. You can make this a front trigger to make your front row numbers bigger, but I prefer the draw trigger to try to draw our important pieces in the deck as fast as possible and have a consistent amount of them. So I prefer the draw trigger at 3 of, but you can run front triggers. We also have a total of 8 crit, 4 of them being Cheerful Sunshine Wallace. Great Zone boost, 50k shield, 5k base. You can make this any crit you want. I chose to make it Wallace because I stole this deck shape from Chris Rain, and Chris Rain had this as his crit, so therefore Wallace is here. Following that with 4 copies of Precious 2 and Edwidge. Great Zone boost, 50k shield, 4k base, critical trigger, auto rear guard, and the battle that she boosted. Put it to sold and choose one of your units, give it 2k for the turn. That 2k most of the time will never make the difference. I mean, in some situations it can, but it's mainly here to get you extra soul, because since you do need Blue Crew and soul for a lot of different effects, you want to be able to have a bunch of soul blast targets, and well, Edwidge will be one of your soul blast targets if you end up spamming a lot of soul blasters. So total of 8 crit for pressure, and then we have 4 heal and Side Relief Abolia. Great Zone boost, 50k shield, 5k base. If you make this any heal you want, just to make it for Abolia, well, I just like the Dragon Roll aesthetic, so there you go. Moving on to our normal units, we have 4 copies of Dive to Blue Lycaris. Great on boost, 5k shield, aka base. Auto rear guard, when your Vanguard Flame Glam and its card name attacks into anything, by counterbossing one and putting a Flame Glam from your drop zone to the bottom of your deck, draw a card, and you, the player, get all your rear units with Flame Glam and their card names get 5,000 power to the end of the turn. Honestly, that's a pretty solid ability. Although it is a once per turn, it is stackable, meaning if you do have 2 of them on the board, you can bot deck 2 Flame Glams, counterblast 2, and you basically your entire board will get +10, which is great. The only downside is she only gives the power up to Flame Glams, but still, again, most of your field, if not all of it except for this unit, would be Flame Glams, so pretty much all your rear guards get half of the over trigger effect. You do get a draw to replace that Flame Glam, and you're also cycling a Flame Glam back that you can call next turn via Roia if things go south. All around, very solid grade 1 for numbers and consistency benefits. The only real downside to her is that she eats into CB, downside being in quotations of course, but still a very solid grade 1 to have in the deck, and I love having her, so 4 of. That takes us over to 4 copies of the reason why we would never use the energy generator. Leave the makeup to me, Eshma. Great on boost, 5k shield, 8k base, auto and place on rear guard circle by energy blasting 4. You can search your deck or drop zone for up to 1 great 2 or less card Flame Glam in the card name, call it to rear guard circle, and this unit gets 5,000 power for the turn. And if you search your deck, you shuffle it. So you either get to call from drop zone or you get to call from deck. Either way, the unit called, or this unit will get 5,000 power, which kind of sucks because its second skill makes you not want to give this unit power, but hey, you still get a Flame Glam out of it without having to cost CB or soul. The only downside is with this that the energy generator only gives you 3 energy a turn, so there will eventually come a day where you have too little energy to actually use Esmer's skill, but we work with what we got. And as for her second skill, act rear guard, put her to soul to choose a Flame Glam from your drop zone and bot deck it, and then choose our means to get 5,000 power for the turn. So say for example you have no spare soul because the only card left in soul is Blue Crew, and you're on Roia and you need to be able to get a Flam Glam on board, well, you can send Eshma to Soul, so there's your Soul back, and then you bot deck a Flam Glam, and then you can Roia skill to get that Flam Glam right back onto your board. Honestly, very solid grade 1. Recycles your Flam Glams, also gets Flam Glam straight from deck or drop zone. Easy 4 of. That takes us over to our new Flam Glam member, our Flam Glam supporting drummer, Rimroll. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, aka base, auto back or rear guard center specifically. When she boosts anything, if your vanguards are grade 3 or greater Flam Glam, this unit has 5,000 power for that battle, and if your opponent's vanguards also grade 3 or greater at the end of the battle, ditch your hand card and retire her to choose one of your vanguards and increase or decrease its drive to 2 for the turn. Even though her skill is all in one ability, the timing for each part differs, and that's the important part. Because, you know, for the battles that she's currently boosting, she's a 13k, but at the end of the battle, an entirely separate skill procs. This skill doesn't necessarily have to proc first, meaning you can use Rojia's skill before this to superior ride Blue Crew and then retire Rimroll and discard a card to give Blue Crew Twin Drive. Honestly, pretty solid grade 1. It's a 13k booster for free, and the only cost to her skill is a discard and a retire, which the Twin Drive then gets you back anyways. And again, this deck has a lot of ways to recycle and superior call out from drop zone, so it makes for a very great grade 1 to have. The only actual downside to her is that she's specifically restricted to back row center, so when we do end up getting more Flam Glam units, we might tech her down in numbers, but because she is our newest Flam Glam member and we don't have that many necessarily yet, she's a solid 4 for us. Moving on, we have 4 copies of our PG as Best Served Hot Warmia. Grade 1 boost, 0 show, 6k base. Still one of my favorite Lyrical Monster PGs of all time because she's just so cute. Like, I love the winter aesthetic of it. I don't know why. It just, like, gives the feeling of love for some reason. I love, like, her little jacket and her book and, like, her pink hair. It's just one of my favorite arts. Anyways, continuous Sentinel for 4 Sentinels and deck and autos put on guard circle. Choose one of your units. It cannot be hit till the battle from hands to more cards and choose a card from hand and discard it. Standard PG, nothing too special about it. Basically, that means you can be as aggressive as in the early game. Spam literally every single card that you can call whenever it becomes applicable, and then when your opponent does eventually counterattack you, throw down Warmia, give them the middle finger, and be good to go. All very solid PG to have, allows you to be super aggressive while also still having that nice defensive benefit to it. You can run literally any of the Lyrical Monasterio PGs, they all have the exact same effect as Warmia outside of the one that came out in the trial deck, but I choose to make it Warmia because she came out close to the time of Rojia's release, and like I said, she is one of my all-time favorite arts in general. Moving on, we have our last grade 1 in the deck, 1 of in the right deck, 3 of in the main deck because she is a Flam Glam, so obviously we want to have as many copies as we can, and that is Flam Glam Jauna. Auto when she's wrote upon by the grade 2 card Flam Glam in the card name, choose a Flam Glam Blue Crew from your soul and call both this card and that card to rear guard circle. Thankfully, they don't have to be in the same column, so if you want to call like one behind back center and the other one to the front right, you can. At the end of the turn, put them to soul. So cool, she allows them to go back into soul, which is very important because again, Blue Crew needs to be in soul for the entire deck to go off, so being able to recycle them back is great, but still have some early game aggro is good as well. And then auto rear guard, at the end of the battle, she attacked into anything. If your vanguard is a Flam Glam Brew Crew, retire these unit countercharge 1. Cool. This deck does it into the CB a lot, and granted, a lot of the times I don't use Jauna to countercharge because I know I can CB next turn, which is that important to me. But if you are in the situation where you really do need the CB back, since your vanguard's already Blue Crew, probably because you're probably swinging the vanguard first, you can swing with Jauna and retire herself to countercharge 1, and that way you have resources for the next turn, and her countercharge isn't restricted to either play bring at a specific grade, obviously, and it's also not restricted to once per turn, meaning if you have multiple Jaunas on the board and you need to countercharge a lot, there you go. She's a nice 3 to have in the main deck and 1 of in the ride deck, because again, she gets your resources back, and at least on your grade 2 turn, whenever you ride from her, you're at least going to get 2 attackers possibly, or at least a better vanguard column and an extra rear guard swing, so 4 of Jauna in total. Moving on to our grade 2s, we have 2 copies of Overcoming Countless Defeats Amdusia, grade 2 NSF 5k shield, 10k base, auto placed on rear guard circle, check the top 3 and choose up to 1 Flam Glam from among them, reveal it, put it to hand, and put the rest on bottom in any order. So cool, we have a total of, how many Flam Glams now? 3, 7, 11, plus another 3, actually no, plus another 6 is 17. So about 17 targets, so pretty good that odds are we're going to hit 1 of them, and then the rest go to bottom, obviously, and then continues rear guard circle. If your vanguard's a Flam Glam, she'll get a boost. Okay, that part doesn't really matter because 9 times out of 10 you're going to kill Amadeus anyways because you want to have as many Flam Glams on the board, A, for Rojia's skill to proc off, and also for Gitana's skill to proc off over here, but also so that Lyrica's skill can proc off as much as possible. But still being able to get a Flam Glam to hand is great, and attacking the rest of them isn't really that much of a problem because Roia can shuffle, and so can Eshma, so she's a nice 2 to have in the deck, but definitely when the next Flam Glam unit rolls around, no matter what, Amadeus is probably going after that. Then we have our 3 copies of our newest grade 2, Thumbs Up February, grade 2 NSF 5k shield, 10k base, act rear guard. If your vanguard's a grade 3 or greater Flam Glam, retire this unit and then choose a normal unit with Flam Glam in this card name from your drop zone and call it to rear guard circle, and then your opponent's vanguard's a grade 3 or greater 5,000 power to it. Honestly, pretty solid because she simply puts, just retires herself and then replaces herself with literally any Flam Glam in the drop zone once you hit grade 3. But if your opponent's also at grade 3, the called unit gets 5,000 power. Great. Well, unfortunately, you can't proc off Grendine's effect over here, but it can get you any extra Flam Glams on board, which guarantees that Rojia's skill will always be able to go off, because Roia needs specifically 3 or more different Flam Glams. Already she counts herself. This thing will automatically get you a different one, and then Roia can search whatever you need from the deck. Very solid grade 2 to have. I love this card a lot, so 3 of. Moving on, we have 4 copies of Flam Glam supporting guitar Grenine. So she's an amazing grade 2, and she was our first Flam Glam that wasn't from the debut set. Grade 2 intercept, 5k shield, 10k base. Auto inputs on rearguard circle from the hand. By counterblasting 1, you can look at the same number of cards from the top of your deck as the number of units with Flam Glams in their total card names, not in different card names. So if you have an entire board of Flam Glams, meaning 6 units, that is very easy to do in this deck. You can check the top 6, choose up to 1 card from among them, put it to your hand, and then shuffle the deck. So it's not up to 1, so you do actually have to add something to hand. But cool, that is literally just add any card you want. It doesn't have to be a Flam Glam, it doesn't have to be a normal unit. This can fetch you a PG, it could fetch you a trigger if you think you're going to need the extra guard power. It's just all around a great ability to have, and the best part is you don't actually have to reveal the card that you add to your hand. So if you need to sneakily add the over because you think you're going to need guard power and you don't think you're going to drive check at that turn for whatever reason, there you go. As for the second skill, act rear guard. If your vanguard's a grade 3 grade of Flam Glam, regardless of what grade the opponent's vanguard's at, energy blast 2 and retire this unit, and you get the original power of all your units with Flam Glam. Their card names become 13,000 to the end of the turn. Honestly, that's pretty solid because it's the ability that you, the player, get. That means even when your vanguard changes, your base vanguard will now always be at 13k, meaning whether it's Roia or Blue Crew, it'll be at 13k base, and Roia will give Blue Crew even more power. And the best part is this also applies to your rear guards as well, meaning all of your units, if you have a full board of Flam Glams, will be swinging for 26k columns each. Honestly, very solid grade 2 to have, increases your numbers out the wazoo, and unlike Eshma, who is always 1 energy over, this card is 1 energy less than the normal amount generated by the energy generator, so you'll be able to use her skill very consistently. And again, she can add literally any card from the top, somewhere between 2 at the bare minimum and 6 at the maximum to your hand without revealing it to your opponent, so you can be super sneaky with the card that you add. All around, very great grade 2 to have, and this card's an easy 4 staple for Flam Glams. Then we have our last grade 2 in the deck. Again, because she's a Flam Glam, we have her at max copies, so 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the right deck. A Flam Glam Vert. Grade 2 intercept, 5k shield, 10k base. Auto and wrote upon by a grade 3 card Flam Glam in the card name. If your soul has Blue Crew in it, draw 2 cards and then choose a card from your hand and bot deck it. So half the time that I use this skill, I end up actually having the over in my hand preemptively. So this is your way to draw 2 cards, bot deck the over or bot deck any trigger, and then use Rojia's skill 5 seconds later to then shuffle that trigger back into the deck, which all around makes for a pretty good grade 2 skill, especially because she does that for free. And then auto rear guard, at the end about that, she attacked it to anything. If your vanguard's a Flam Glam Blue Crew, or Soul Boss want to retire her, to choose one of your opponent's rear guards and murk it. All around pretty solid because, you know, she can attack into a rear guard, and then regardless if your opponent took the attack or not, you can then retire her and kill another rear guard, or you can just swing into vanguard, try to put pressure, your opponent guards or they don't guard, and then you kill 1 rear guard on their board. This grade 2 is really good because while she does eat into the soul, again, we do have ways to generate soul, mainly in the form of Eshma and Edwidge back here, which so we can keep Blue Crew in the soul. But again, good for board control kind of, and also being able to recycle triggers back when she's on road upon. So very solid, 1 of in the right deck and 3 of in the main deck. Not to mention that again, because she's a Flam Glam, she's searchable via Roia. So if there's ever a situation where you do need to like murk your opponent's rear guards off, that's where you can search her for. And as for our last card in the deck, 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the right deck, a Flam Glam Roia. Grade 3, 200% right, 13k base, our main grade 3. Act Vanguard once per turn, Soul Boss 1 to search your deck or drop zone for up to any grade 2 or less card Flam Glam in the card name. Call to rear guard circle, and if you search your deck, you shuffle it. Cool. So it's literally Soul Boss whatever you want. In worst case scenario, you can Soul Boss a Flam Glam from the ride deck, and then you can just call out that Flam Glam. But more likely than not, you're going to Soul Boss out whatever you want outside of Blue Crew, and then immediately search your deck for a Flam Glam, call to rear guard circle, and shuffle, so that way you can get back your triggers if you sent any of them to bottom. And then auto Vanguard, at the end of the battle, this unit attacked. If you have 3 or more units of Flam Glam in the different card names, counting herself, and more likely than not, you will have Grenine. In worst case scenario, she will always get you one. Meaning you just have to have another one that you either got via Fedbar or that you got via Eshma. Another combo you can quickly do with Fedbar, by the way, is Soul Blast out a Flam Glam from Roia, and then search your deck for another Flam Glam, call it, and then call Fedbar, retire it, and then call back the Flam Glam that you Soul Blasted, but I digress. Anyways, once you have the 3 or more different Flam Glams, counter boss 1 and choose a Flam Glam Blue Crew from your soul, ride it as stand, and until the end of the turn, that unit loses all of its alt abilities. Yes, because the 50-50 chance of you getting a draw skill, because it only works if you win second, matters, but whatever. You get the, instead of auto abilities, give the unit 2,000 power for each card total between you and your opponent's damage zone. So if you have 4 damage and your opponent has 5, the unit gets a total of plus 18. And, you know, if you combo that with Grenine's skill, that'll be a 13k base, so a total of a 31k without triggers. Honestly, very solid ability, and at the end of that turn, you choose a Flameglam Roia from your soul or from your drop zone right as rest. So if you really are low on soul and you want to soul blast out Roia, you can, because then you can soul return Roia from the drop zone at the beginning of Bright Phase instead of having to grab it from soul. Really great grade 3. She guarantees you that you will always have at least 2 Flameglams, meaning you only need 1 more to proc off her ability. Neither of her abilities are restricted to the opponent being at grade 3. It literally gets stronger every single time someone takes a damage. So if your opponent hard rushes you and you hard rush them back, oh, it's going to be a fun turn for your grade 0. And more importantly, she even takes into consideration where maybe you need to use your resources as aggressively as possible to make sure that even if you can't kill your opponent, they at least can't kill you on the next turn. So that way you can ride her from drop zone instead of riding her from the soul in case you really did need to use the soul blast, avert, or something similar to kill off your opponent's board. All around, very solid grade 3 to have in the deck. She's an easy 3 in the main deck and 1 of in the ride deck, and she is one of the grade 3s who does so well for her deck, and the more support that comes out for the deck, the stronger it is, because ultimately they have a very solid core. And without further ado, that's it for this one. I hope all of you guys enjoyed. Honestly, this deck is really fun to play. I remember I didn't like Flamgees originally because the original Flamgees were only just the 4 you see now, but then we got Grenine, who is incredibly busted, and then we had Drillmo, who is just as good. The deck has a lot of search power and has a good amount of ways to make sure that you have consistent numbers, and is basically guaranteed to always have Roia's effect active. All around, it's a very fun deck to play, and I definitely recommend you try out if you want to play Lyrical Monasterio deck and you don't want to play like a super idle heavy themed deck. So without further ado, I'm going to end here. Hope all of you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and join us for Twitch. I'll see you all in the next one. Don't forget to set up your vanguards.